Okay, hello everybody. This is Ryan, and I get a lot of people asking me how I do my pixel art, which is kind of most of my stuff, and so I thought I'd make this really quick tutorial on how to do pixel art. Now I'm using Manga Studio because that's what I use primarily for all my art, but this does work on Photoshop too, which I'll try to mention how to do that in Photoshop, like if I get to a step that's kind of different in both, but for the most part it's the same. So what you want to do first is just draw something. Oh, perfect. So what you're gonna want to do now is go to image resolution, change it to 72. It's the lowest you can do. And then what you're going to do now is scale it to the point where you want the pixel size to be what you want. So like you'll notice that the smaller it gets, the bigger the pixels are. Or I mean, I probably said that wrong. But so the smaller you scale it, the less pixels you'll have to work with. Bigger you have, the more. So you're gonna want to kind of mess around. Once you do a lot of pixel art, you can kind of eye it really well. But okay, so now that you have it scaled to the point you want, what you're going to do is take the pen tool. In Photoshop it's the pencil tool. In Manga Studio I use the G Pen, and I will put it to 0.1, opacity 100, anti-aliasing. Anti-aliasing, you're aliasing. You're gonna want to turn that off, because if you don't, you get this, and that's kind of gross. Without it, you get nice, clean pixels. So I usually go in first with black. You can change it later, but that's how I kind of start. So first things first. So the line work is, you can do it in multiple ways, but the way I do it is I zoom in and find kind of the darkest parts, the darkest pixels, and go over those. Usually a rule I use is I don't really like pixels touching like this, because that once you do that, you're kind of messing with line weight. So you just kind of want to go through, just get the dark pixels. Another way I've known people to do it is they literally just draw and then kind of go in and oops. Oh, another thing you're gonna want to turn off anti-aliasing on your eraser so you can erase. So I've seen people who do that. I prefer getting in and being a bit more precise. Okay, so here's another thing I'd like to bring up. Sometimes you're gonna come across something like this where, following it, you might not like how it looks with just following it, which I don't personally like that. So feel free to, you don't have to follow the lines to a T. It's just kind of a guide that I use kind of in general to do line work with this. So yeah. Okay, now another quick thing I'd like to bring up is, okay, so I know I said that you don't want stuff like this, but that's more of like when you're doing lines. So if you like kind of want a sharp edge like this, then yeah, you you make these corners like this. Those can work really well if you do them. If you do them in places like this, you know, if you want these sharp corners, then yeah, you can do kind of make them touching more than one at once. Okay, so once you have kind of lines that you think you like, now you can go ahead and start coloring the kind of background. So this is just kind of basic coloring stuff. If you know how to color, this isn't that hard. So I'm just gonna probably skip over this. Okay, so a quick note, when I do the eyes, I usually don't color under the line. I usually will go over the lines in white and fill it in. To me, it makes the eyes kind of pop a bit more. Not pop, I don't know, it just looks better to me. I like it. You don't have to do this, I just personally do it. Yeah, that's all. Okay, so now that you have like all your colors that you want, your flat kind of base colors, so that's not on. You can kind of go in and shade, but you know, that's not what I wanted. If you like use a brush tool, you'll notice it's kind of, you know, you can kind of tell it's bleh. So I don't personally use a brush tool. I still use a flat G pen tool. I mean, this part's just gonna kind of be my personal taste, but I usually take a shade of purple and lower the opacity to 50, and that's how I usually get my colors. You probably have a different method of choosing colors. Everyone's different with that kind of thing. But yeah, just kind of use a flat color to lay down what you want. Try to find a color that you think works. I'm not having luck with that. Okay, so once you have kind of the flat shading down, you know, you might want to end here, you might want to add a bit more. What I usually do after this step is I'll take this color, the color I shaded with, and lower the opacity to 50 and get the color by mixing it with the base color. And then with that, you can kind of ease into the shading, and usually I'll go around to all the parts of the drawing and do that. Man, I suck at this. Okay, so another thing I like to do to kind of simulate reflected light is to go in and kind of 1 pixel off, I just go in and take the base color and line it with, line the line work with it. So I'll just kind of go through in a lot of sections and just kind of do this. You don't have to. Once again, it's a me thing. But if you kind of like how that looks, you might want to try it for yourself. so now that you have the kind of shading you want, you might want to do something about the lines, because I don't really like to keep them black. I think it's kind of ugly. So what I usually do is I go in and find a color that I want to make the lines. Usually it's just the color I'm using with kind of a darker shade. Let's use purple, dark purple. And just kind of go in and clean up how you see fit, using the colors you want. Okay, so now that you have the color of the lines that you want, you might notice that, you know, it's kind of solid all the way through. So what I usually do is I go in and take the color of kind of what it's facing, and I will go over the lines so I can kind of make them a bit more faded so they can kind of blend a bit more. Usually if there's shaded area next to it, I always use the shaded, because if you just use the normal area, it kind of fits in weird. So just kind of go through and color what you see fit. Usually I just kind of do anything inside the lines, because I think it kind of looks nicer. That's the only reason I have. It looks nicer. Someone could probably explain like, oh yeah, it's because of this, but I can't. I'm not very good with art terms. Okay, so at this point you probably have something you kind of like. Usually this is kind of where I go in, add any last touches that I might want. Like right now I'm noticing I missed the coloring on the line of the tongue, so so yeah, this is just kind of the point where you can go back, find something, you kind of look at it as a whole. I always zoom out, because it kind of, you can kind of just see it as a whole. But yeah, so this is kind of the end of the actual drawing process. So once you just kind of have a product you like, I'm not too in love with this, but well, whenever it's a tutorial. Once you have something you kind of like, first of all, save. I haven't saved at all. Oh my god. Apple Buddy. I don't know. So you save, and then usually I will canvas size. I always I'm bad at explaining things. I always use a square background. I don't know why. Mostly because I uploaded a lot of my stuff to Instagram, and I don't know, I just think it looks nicer. A lot of these tips are just me saying, oh, I think it looks nice this way. I can't really offer an explanation why, and it's a lot of personal stuff. So you know, you kind of have the thing you want. Usually I'll add a solid color background. Let's do cyan. Cyan's one of my favorite colors. I haven't really used it much in this piece. Let's put dark. Not dark. Vibrant. Yeah, I kind of like that. But yeah, so yeah, you'll have that. Now with that, I'm just gonna save again. Loading. Go to image resolution, and this is when you're gonna, because if you export this as is, it's gonna look kind of small, because it's small as it is. It's only an inch by an inch. So I usually will, you wanna scale it in multiples of 2s. I usually make it just 8, because that's just, to me, the best. How to correct, do hard outline. If you do smooth, it's going to end up blurry. Hard outline makes it so the pixels stay okay. And then you kind of, I always kind of inspect it, make sure nothing went wrong, make sure everything looks okay. Once you have this, you are done. You have a nice little pixel boy. Yeah, this is kind of my process. I know it's probably not everyone's process. People probably have different, maybe probably better processes to do pixel art. This is just the way I do it. Yeah, I hope you found this informative. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm always down to talk about pixel art. But yeah, see ya.